I swear, some people go through life acting like they're the goddamn main characters of the universe, and the rest of us are just extras thrown in to carry their bags, handle their problems, and smile pretty in the background while they burn through everyone's patience like cheap gasoline. That's how my family had always treated me. Like I was some unpaid assistant hired at birth to run their errands, fix their messes, and show up whenever their lives fell apart. And I used to do it. Hell, for a long time I thought that's just how family worked. You give, they take. You show up, they shrug. You bleed, they yawn. But the night everything snapped? Yeah, that night still lives in my damn bones. Started with a phone call. The type of call where the screen lights up and your stomach immediately drops because you already know it's not going to be good. My sister, Dana, never called unless she needed something. And by needed, I mean demanded like she was royalty and I was the butler who forgot my place. I picked up anyway, because I hadn't fully learned my lesson. Yeah. She didn't even say hello. Hey, you busy? I glanced at the sink full of dishes, the laundry, the pan of burnt chicken I'd forgotten because my boss kept blowing up my phone, and the fact that my back felt like it was carrying 4 invisible toddlers. What's up? We need you to watch the kids. Of course. Always the damn kids. I love them, sure. But watching her kids wasn't watching. It was war, chaos, screaming, the kind of babysitting that made you question your morals, life choices, and reproductive goals. When? I asked, already knowing the answer. Like now. We're outside. I blinked. What? Just come open the door. We're running late. For a moment, I didn't even move. I just stood there staring at the wall like it was going to offer me emotional support. You can't just drop them off, I said as I rubbed my forehead. I've had a long-ass day. We've all had long days, she snapped, like I'd offended her by being human. You're the closest, and you don't have kids, so you have the time. Ah yes, the famous family logic. If you don't have children, your entire life is wide open for unpaid childcare. I didn't agree to this. I tried again, but she'd already hung up. Dana had perfected the art of hanging up before anyone could tell her no. A knock hit my door 20 seconds later. No, not a knock, a pounding. As if they were the police and I was harboring a fugitive. I opened the door, and there they were. Dana looking impatient, her husband looking annoyed, and the 3 kids looking like they'd eaten pure sugar for 12 hours straight. Thanks, Dana said, shoving one backpack into my hands before I even stepped aside. Dinner's in here. They already ate, but if they say they're hungry again, they're lying. Don't let them talk you into snacks. The kids stormed into my apartment like tiny drunk tornadoes. Something crashed. I was pretty sure it was my lamp. Hold on, I said, grabbing the door before she could bolt. I can't tonight. Seriously. I've got work in the morning and we'll be back by 10. She cut me off, already halfway to the car. I'm not a damn daycare, I called out after her. She froze just long enough to glare at me. You're family, she hissed. And family helps each other. Funny how family helps each other always meant I helped them, and never the other way around. They drove off before I could argue. The kids proceeded to absolutely obliterate the apartment, and by 10, of course, nobody came back. Midnight? Nothing. 1 a.m.? My texts were left on read. By 2 a.m., I was seriously considering packing bags for the kids and leaving them at their doorstep like a reverse FedEx package. At 3 in the morning, 3. My sister finally called. We're outside, she said, sounding offended, like she'd been waiting for me. When she came up to get them, she had the nerve to wrinkle her nose at the mess the kids made. Damn, what happened in here? I just stared at her. Your children happened. Well, you didn't have to let them destroy the place, she muttered. I nearly lost it, but instead I let it slide, because that's what I did. I let everything slide until the weight of all the shit I carried was enough to crush a small building. The next morning, I woke up to a dozen texts from work, another from my landlord about noise complaints, and one from Dana telling me to watch the kids again next weekend. I didn't respond, but life has a sense of humor, because things escalated faster than a spark in dry grass. 2 days later, I went to my parents' house for dinner, a decision I regretted the moment I stepped inside. The second I walked into the dining room, every head turned toward me, and the vibe was off. Weird. Tense. Like I had walked into a courtroom instead of a meal. Dana sat at the table with her arms crossed, her husband glaring at me like I'd kicked his dog. My parents looked uncomfortable, which wasn't unusual, but today it felt directed at me. What? I asked, sitting down slowly. My mother cleared her throat, which was her way of saying prepare for bullshit. We need to talk about something. Dana shot me a triumphant look. Yeah, about the other night. I waited. You made us feel really unwelcome, she said, folding her arms. You acted like we were dumping our kids on you. You were dumping your kids on me? I deadpanned. She scoffed. Your family. That's not dumping. And I said I was tired. I reminded her. You didn't listen. Her husband jumped in. We don't appreciate the attitude. You've always been a bit self-centered. But saying you're not a daycare? That was messed up. Self-centered. Right? Because nothing says selfish like being forced into childcare at midnight. My father leaned forward. Your sister relies on you. She trusts you. Yeah, Dana said. And instead of being grateful, you made us feel like burdens. Couldn't believe my ears. The gaslighting was Olympic level. So what, exactly? I asked slowly. Are you all trying to say? My mother sighed. We just think you should be more supportive. More available. Family sticks together. Meaning, Dana added, you need to stop acting like helping is optional. I stared at them, stunned. So let me get this straight, I said. I help all the damn time. I've rearranged my schedule. Canceled plans. Stayed up all night. Dana rolled her eyes. And the one time I say I'm exhausted, suddenly I'm the villain? Nobody answered. And that's when something cold, sharp, and clear settled in my chest. A realization, a boundary, forming like a spine I didn't know I had. I sat back in my chair. If that's how you see me, then cool. But let me make one thing clear. I'm not your daycare. The room went silent.
Dana's jaw clenched.
Wow. My father looked like he wanted to lecture me, but I wasn't done. In fact, I added, pushing my chair back, I think it's time you all heard the rest. Their eyes shifted. I'm not your backup plan. I'm not your emergency contact. I'm not your emotional punching bag, your babysitter, your therapist, or your personal assistant. I've been all those things because I cared. But you don't appreciate shit. So if you think I'm selfish now, buckle up. Dana scoffed again. So what, you're just done? Yeah, I said, standing. I'm done. I'm not your damn lifeline. You can save yourselves from now on. My parents gasped like I'd slapped them, but I didn't care. I was exhausted, not just that day, but from years of being the family safety net while they treated me like a convenience store. Open 24/7. No gratitude necessary. I grabbed my jacket and walked out, leaving them staring after me like I'd burned down the house. That night, for the first time in years, I felt something close to peace. Like I'd finally stopped drowning because I stopped swimming toward people who were perfectly fine watching me sink. Of course, peace didn't last long. My phone blew up the next day. Threatening texts from Dana, guilt trip messages from my mom, a passive-aggressive essay from my dad about remembering where you come from. Even Dana's husband tried to chime in with his little macho tantrum. I ignored them, but ignoring them only poured gasoline on the fire. Within a week, shit got messy enough to change everything. And that's where the storm really began. The next week felt like I was starring in a family soap opera that I never agreed to film. Every day brought some new dramatic bullshit. Dana posting vague Facebook statuses about fake relatives who abandon family when needed. My mother calling me 9 times in a row because she couldn't sleep knowing we were fighting. My dad leaving a voicemail that sounded like he rehearsed it with a priest. At first, I just ignored all of it. Silence can be a weapon, and honestly, it was the only one I had left. But then the knocking started. I was in the middle of nuking leftover pasta when a loud pounding rattled my front door. I froze. It was the kind of knock that meant either the police, the landlord, or someone who wanted to fight. When I opened the door, Dana stood there with her arms crossed and fire in her eyes. We need to talk. No, we don't. I replied, and I tried to close the door. She shoved her foot in like she was an undercover cop. Stop acting childish. Let me in. You're the one who showed up uninvited. She pushed past me and barged inside. My kids love you, she snapped, turning around. Do you understand that? They ask for you every day. You're hurting them. I'm hurting them? I repeated. You're the one using them as bribery tokens. She shook her head. No. You don't get it. You think everything's about you. But you're part of this family whether you like it or not. And that means stepping up. Stepping up? I've been stepping up. I shot back. But I'm done being everyone's go-to babysitter. It's not babysitting. It's helping. It's unpaid labor. She blinked, confused, like the concept had never crossed her mind.
Dana, I sighed. I am tired.
I have my own shit going on. You can't just treat me like a spare parent. She threw her hands up. We're not asking you to raise our kids. The hell you aren't. Her face twisted like she'd been insulted. You're unbelievable. We asked for help because we trust you more than anyone in this family. And you repay that by running away and throwing a tantrum? I leaned against the counter, feeling the exhaustion hit my bones. I'm not running. I'm setting boundaries. She scoffed. Boundaries? That's your excuse now. Yeah, I said calmly. It is. Wow, she muttered. You're selfish. And you, I said, are entitled. Something flickered in her eyes. Shock. Maybe. Nobody ever called her out. Everyone tiptoed around her because she was emotional, dramatic, and loud enough to make family gatherings feel like hostage situations. But I wasn't tiptoeing anymore. Look, I said, softening just a little. I'm not saying I'll never help. I'm saying I won't be taken for granted. I'm not a daycare. I'm not your lifeline. She stiffened. We're not your damn villains. I sighed. I know. But you're also not my responsibility. She stood silently for a long moment, then grabbed her purse. Fine. You want to be alone? Be alone. And she walked out. I thought that was the end of it. But my family is allergic to endings. 2 days later, my parents invited everyone over for a calm, mature discussion, which in family language means an ambush with snacks. I didn't want to go, but avoiding them only made things worse. So I showed up, mentally prepared, emotionally armored, and physically exhausted. The moment I stepped inside, I knew something was off. Everyone was too quiet, too still. Even the kids weren't running around. Dana sat stiffly with her arms crossed, her husband glaring at the wall. My mother had red eyes. My father stood like a judge ready to deliver a verdict. Sit down, he said gently, which somehow made me even more suspicious. He said. My mother dabbed her eyes. We want to understand what's going on. Nothing's going on, I said. I told you all I need some space. My father crossed his hands. You hurt your sister.
Iseta bunday. Ikurrakta.
You used hurtful words, Dana muttered. I said I'm not your daycare, I reminded. Because I'm not. That's hurtful, she exploded. Why? I demanded. Because it's true? She glared at me. My father stepped in. We just want the family to stay close. Then stop using me like a utility service. I snapped. I don't ask anything of you. That's not how family works, he said. Maybe not yours, I replied. But it's how healthy families work. They stared at me like I'd spoken ancient Greek. My mother placed a hand on my arm. Honey, we raised you to care for each other. I leaned back. Yeah, but caring goes both ways.
Dana exhaled dramatically.
Okay, so what do you want? A thank you card? Payment? We're struggling. You know that. And instead of supporting us, you bailed. I froze. Struggling. I repeated. Dana, you guys make more than I do. She looked offended. We have kids. That's expensive. And that's your responsibility, I said slowly. Not mine. You're unbelievable, she whispered. I stood up. And you're ungrateful. My father stood too. Sit down. No, I said. I'm done sitting for lectures about how I'm supposed to sacrifice everything while nobody else lifts a finger. He stiffened. Are you saying we haven't supported you? My laugh cracked like a fault line. Name one time. Silence filled the room. One long, uncomfortable, embarrassing silence. Nobody spoke. Because they couldn't. Because they knew. I'd been there for birthdays, hospital trips, pickup emergencies, late-night calls, broken-down cars, screaming kids, last-minute babysitting, emotional crises. All of it. And nobody could name a single thing they'd done for me. I inhaled, then exhaled, and something inside me clicked. I love you guys, I said quietly, but I'm done bleeding for people who don't notice when I'm empty. Dana's eyes shimmered with something. Anger or hurt or both. So that's it? You're abandoning us? No, I said. I'm choosing myself. Her husband scoffed. So dramatic. I shot him a cold look. You would know. He looked away. My mother reached out one more time. Honey, please. I stepped back. I'm not your daycare, I repeated softly. And I'm not your lifeline. You're adults. You can figure things out without using me as the emergency solution to every problem. Dana finally broke. You're really doing this? Yeah, I said. I am. My father looked disappointed. But for once, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. I walked out without another word. And for the first time in my damn life, nobody followed me. It's been weeks now. And you know what? My phone doesn't ring as often. My apartment is quiet. My mental health is breathing again. Do I miss them? Yeah. Sometimes. Family isn't something you can just switch off. But peace? Damn, peace feels good. Maybe better than anything they ever gave me. And if they ever decide to show up with real respect, actual respect, not the do what we want or your selfish kind, I'll open the door. But until then, I'm living my life without apologizing for it. And it feels absolutely, completely, gloriously right. You just heard a story of betrayal, survival, and quiet revenge. If it left you thinking, hit like, share it forward, and subscribe for more true emotional stories that'll stay with you long after they end. Every click helps another story find its voice.